guys. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Fill Me In podcast, where we dive deeper into the world of aesthetics. We have an amazing guest on today, Yvonne. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I couldn't get here fast enough to be here.
She literally flew in today for this, guys.
Yeah, and is meeting with us like an hour later. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So where are you from? Like, where are you right now?
I'm in southern Utah, and it's actually beautiful out. I just left Tampa.
Okay.
I was in New York for a dinner meeting Thursday night and Friday night, then flew to Tampa, and I'm just home for a minute. So happy to be here.
Busy schedule, right? Busy
Yes.
schedule. And I just found out like 5 minutes ago that she used to live in Morristown, which is like 15 minutes from me.
Yeah, that was like 25 years ago.
Yep, small world.
Did you go to the Short Hills Mall? We need to know.
Oh, yes, of course. Back in the 90s. Yeah.
It's a place to be.
So fun. Good memories.
So, all right. So so much about you. You have such an incredible journey and you do so much educating now. Kind of tell us your journey prior to aesthetics and how you got into the profession to where you are now as an educator and doing all these conferences and all of that.
Oh, I'm truly, truly blessed. I actually went to grad school to do reproductive medicine. So that was my dream. I have my identical twin boys that are now 15 years old. And It took a lot to get them here, as you can imagine. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help other mamas get their babies here. And I started with the godfather of IVF in Las Vegas. And this was right out of grad school. I actually was in grad school when I started working with him in 2011, 2012, 2013. And I really thought that's what I was going to do. He was making me his partner. His previous partner had left. And his nurse did not like that at all. It ended up becoming a very toxic environment. And I was like, peace out. This is not for me. Because your culture, everything, when you are around these people all day, every day, the energy dictates everything.
Absolutely.
So I was like, this is not for me. So I moved up north to just outside of Park City, Utah. And there weren't any nurse practitioner jobs at the time. So I ran traumas at Deer Valley Ski Resort.
Wow.
I've seen enough to not want to ever ski.
Oh my God.
I agree.
Yeah. So I did that for 2 seasons. And then I ended up working for Ideal Image doing laser hair removal. So this was January of 2014. And right at that time, they introduced injectables. So my training back then, they flew a trainer from Florida out. We got 4 hours, the whole entire staff. We got to poke our manager. And then they gave us this big, thick manual, this binder. And I remember the binder just being in the back of the office. And it was about 3 months later, a patient walked in and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I ran to the back of the clinic, hurry up and read through the manual as to what to do. I literally step by step what to do. And so that was my experience entering the industry. So it all just kind of blossomed. And I always say when you find a need, turn it into an opportunity to serve and an opportunity to profit.
Well, clearly you have it. Like you have like you have that artistic nature about you, because I feel like not many people can read a manual or read whatever and then go and do something. And I think that's something like that I've mentioned to Nicole, like when I first started, is I didn't have a lot of like hands-on training. Like I went through AMET, like aesthetic medical educator training, and I got my certification, joined a medical spa, and they sent me to someone to literally get like cheek, under eye, chin. I mean, it was like too much all at once, because you can't absorb all of that like as a new injector. But I was looking up videos, I was reading, I was on Patreon, I was joining things like that to really. So I think if you don't have that artistic nature about you, and I think you can't do what you just said that you did. I mean, that says a lot about you, which is amazing.
So I was actually at this dinner in New York, and it's a very, very successful group. So Mike Tannenbaum, he's a football guy. And
can
he was at the
can you
dinner
tell
table.
We don't watch football?
I'm like, well, he's a football guy, for those of you who don't know. And so anyway, we were sitting at the table and he had just gotten off of a panel and he was talking about imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I've never experienced that. Mm-hmm. And I know it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm so great. I think what it is I've set myself up to know I'm going to suck at first. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be great at first. My podcast is not great yet, but I'm going to stick with it. I'll figure it out. Everything, if you listen to Marie Forleo, everything is figure outable. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'll figure it out. So I don't know that I've ever been paralyzed by imposter syndrome. I don't let failure be, failure's a beautiful word in my vocabulary. So, I'm like, I'll figure it out. And I have loads of books because I had to read the books to learn because there weren't training education centers and programs like there are today.
Right. We've come so far with that for sure. Yeah. I mean, I love that though, because I feel like imposter syndrome is definitely something that a lot of us talk about. And that's so true. Like we shouldn't have it because we all start somewhere. We all need to build. And I love that. That's such a good way to explain it.
And Nicole and I were just at MD Codes with Mauricio de Mayo in, Southern California, or, this past weekend. And we were all just like among each other and we're like, wow, it's all Allergan trainers. We've all seen each other like 3 times this year, and we're like, we're really fortunate to be in a stage in this era of aesthetic medicine where there is so much training available because back in the day, they didn't have that.
Yeah. Right. And Jon, to be honest with you, the reason why Medical Aesthetic Art Institute exists today is because I trained for AMET. And I
Did
was
you
like,
really?
Years ago.
Like, wow. Yeah.
7.5 years ago.
Do you know Mercedes?
Yes.
That's who trained me.
Okay. So
I love that.
Yeah. So this is a long time ago. And
that was 6 years ago for me.
Go back. Yeah. And look at their Google reviews and you'll see my name in there.
Oh but my gosh.
I was on a road trip and I was like, I've got to do something about this. So I literally pulled a napkin from the glove box and wrote the whole business plan where I was like, this is going to have mentoring. We're going to give them a thick manual. We're going to follow up. We're going to build community. We're going to be support. We're going to be their everything and not just send them out on their own to figure it out because that was me. Right.
Yeah.
And not everyone can figure it out. They get overwhelmed and then the head chatter goes and then they give up. And I don't want anyone to go through my program and get discouraged and give up. That's not an option. Right. And so I kind of handhold them, but it's beautiful because we built beautiful relationships. So.
I can't wait to see our industry in like 10 to 15 years. I just feel like there's going to be more like even residencies. Like, I mean, you're kind of starting the wave. So can you like talk a little bit more about that? Like what you're doing at your day to day, like tell me what your day to day is.
And you're exactly right, Jon. That's exactly what's going to happen. I just made a great friendship with a gentleman. I want to say he's probably late 80s, facial plastic surgeon from La Jolla. And they're in the works of putting together an accreditation program. So Amazing. He asked me to be a part of it. Yep. So I'm looking at my calendar as to when I can get down there. But we were on the phone last week and he was asking me like all these questions. And he's like, well, how much time does someone need? And I said, it really, really varies. I think it's going to be a much better approach is to like, do you get these online modules, then come in for hands-on training for that. Then you'll do an intern around just what you learned for an extended period of time. Then you do another stage of online modules. Then you come back for that hands-on. Then you sit in that intern program with the combined. It's like longer stages of time. Right now, yes, everyone starts with this 1-day weekend program. In my program, they get the 1 day, but then they come back as an intern to repeat that day at no additional cost. And then we have community events. They get the mentoring. And then we have our annual conference.
Hey guys, just popping in to remind you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Injector Jon and Aesthetic Nurse Nicole. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section.
I think I look back into my career and I really wish that I did a cadaver lab the first year that I started. Because I feel like if I did, I would have been even a year or two ahead.
Yes.
Right.
Like where I am, you know?
Yeah.
When do you think, I mean, do you agree? Like, do you think, as early as possible, do a cadaver lab?
And that's something you guys offer, right? You do cadaver. Yeah.
I say within 6 months that everyone should be in a cadaver course. And so because Hawaii doesn't have a lot of educators out there, I've really taken that to be another one of my communities. I've been teaching there for 4 or 5 years now. And so Dr. Sykes and I go out there once a year for cadaver courses. And I know some of my colleagues do as well. I know Dr. Sadat's been out there with Benev and they've done some, but we do one once a year, sometimes twice a year here in Utah. And then I started the medical conference here in Utah because Utah didn't have anything like that. So I'm trying to bring all those resources to Utah and to the states that don't have such support. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. Incredible.
Where do you see, I mean, how long? Okay. So I remember the year 2014 is when they started bringing on, right, to the laser. Okay. So you've been for 10 years, right? You've been.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how have you seen aesthetics change over the years?
It's been beautiful. It's really grown. It's amazing, the growth. However, of course, with any growth, if any industry or even a business grows too fast without having a foundation, you're going to see wheels falling off. You're going to see the shit show, right? Like it's going to happen. But that's actually, again, I don't let failure be a word in my vocabulary that's like a detrimental word. I'm like, how can we use this to get better? What we're seeing in the industry, how can we use this to make it better? And I do believe that there are enough leaders in the industry that are so passionate about education that there's no ego. It's let's come together and do what's best for the industry. Now, of course, you're going to find those that have ego and do things their way, and that's fine too. But for the majority of the leaders in the industry, we're very, very passionate. And I'm like willing to be like, look, if that means giving up my school to become one, I'm willing to do that. Whatever's best for the higher good of the community and the industry, I'm willing to do that. Because the whole reason why Medical Aesthetic Art Institute exists is because I saw needs that weren't being met. And I'm like, well, if I can make it better, then,
No, and that's amazing. That's all about the community and educating. I started a little over 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago now. And there really wasn't much. Like your BDM would come in and do a quick 4-hour training for you. But I remember we used Ultra Plus in every area of the face. Like it was what we knew. It was what we were told. And so now to fast forward to where I am now, I'm like, holy crap, like what a difference. And now there's so many options for conferences and classes and trainings. I mean, it really is incredible.
Yeah.
And such a different time.
A lot of those that are coming into the industry too, they don't know what's good and what's not. They don't know where to start. They may see somebody on Instagram or they may see an ad on Instagram. And to be honest with you, Medical Aesthetic Art Institute really has grown word of mouth because a student would tell somebody else and then they would come in. With all the marketing dollars I've spent, they've never converted to it's word of mouth still.
Yeah. I honestly think word of mouth is the biggest marketing tool.
Yeah.
Truthfully. I mean, of course, like as a practice owner, like I do XYZ, I do a bunch of other things, Google ads, Facebook, Instagram, there's even geofencing, all these other things that I pay other people to do. Right. But I think word of mouth still is the biggest tool.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So you are so busy educating and everything, and you have a practice too, right?
Yeah, I'm not in the clinic a ton these days. So I'll be in Vegas seeing patients on Wednesday. So I go to Vegas once or twice a month. And then I have an office here. But again, I only take word of mouth. I just keep my small, old regulars that have been
your OGs.
Right? Yeah. I sold my main practice last year to a student.
Wow.
And
I love that.
doing really, really well. Yeah. I mean, I really want to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
I don't need to have more money. I don't need more stuff. I don't need more designer bags or shoes. Like really, I plan to sell everything in 4 years and just serve. So
wow.
I love that for you.
I don't need much.
Yeah. You're exactly what our community needs. 100%.
Well, I am a lover and I just want to serve. And so that's kind of why I'm pivoting a little bit more into personal development mindset. And I do a lot of coaching and
Now, where in Vegas do you inject?
So I have a clinic in Henderson, just off Horizon Ridge. So a colleague and I, one of my coaching clients had built this beautiful practice and she was going under. So we took over her lease, a colleague and I. Yeah.
Very cool. So she injects
office.
like more, she injects more often, and then you said twice a month or 2 to 3 times a month?
Yeah, once or twice a month. So Irina lives around the block from the clinic. And she does some national training for devices as well, but she's there most of the time. And then my regulars, I'll just go down and I'll knock out a whole day, see like 20 patients a day and call it great.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. So you're definitely all over the place all the time then.
Yeah. I do believe in like always growing and learning and like we really, and I want specifically women to know that you really can change your mind anytime and start a whole new career path or a whole new source of revenue. Because I'm on a mission right now to impact 4 million women. And I'm joining an organization, the Napoleon Hill Foundation, where we get 1 million women. We help them make $1 million. Because the research shows that women in business, less than 3% have ever generated over $1 million in revenue.
Wow.
And I believe that when women make a lot of money, we can change the world. So I'm on a mission to empower and inspire and educate women to make more money and have a better quality of life. So
wow. Yeah. And
That's
I saw
amazing.
you're working on a book, right?
Yes.
Does it have to do with that or is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I grew up on food stamps and welfare. I'm the first generation to have an education and the first generation millionaire on both sides.
Wow.
And so if I can create a life by my own design, then other women can too, regardless of where you've come from.
Right.
We just have to make that decision that we're no longer going to live this life, that we're going to choose a different life. And we got to make the changes and it's possible. Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of it is mindset and having that coaching and that community. That's amazing.
It's so fulfilling. That's my dear friend. He's a retired NFL player and he calls it soulfish, being selfish, but being soulfish. Like I'm in a period of my life. I just want to be soulfish. I want to just help other people because that's what fills my soul. Yeah. And so I just want to serve and create opportunities for other people to.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Beautiful.
Amazing. I love that.
You. Yeah. So the book is titled From Food Stamps to Fortunes. It's it's in design right now. So it will be printed any day. There's a journal as well. The journal is the Best of You journal because I have the Best of Yvonne podcast and the Best of Yvonne Instagram and website and all that. So yeah.
We'll have to be sure to get a copy.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know. I want to read it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it will definitely help you with some insight and some lifestyle changes and just start dreaming bigger and don't be
well, that
fearful.
was definitely, I started my practice like a little over a year ago now. And I feel like that was the hardest transition is kind of learning how to be a boss and learning all those business things and changing your mindset. So definitely.
Yeah. And you'll always be growing and evolving, it's a beautiful thing. What your vision for your practice is now will be something different.
Right.
Because our businesses go through infancy, toddler, preschool, adolescence.
So
they
true.
evolve just like we do.
So,
yeah.
That's funny. On the episode before this, right? You were just talking about that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's just so important to evolve. I think there's some practices that just kind of get, we're busy, like great. And then they just kind of sit on being busy, but then they wonder years down the road, oh wait, like what's happening? Like we're getting stale, things like that, but they don't want to try. You have to try, you know, and if you're not evolving, you're not going to be what you want it to be.
You're exactly right. Well, you're going to get left behind is what it is.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing because all my students now have their own training programs. They're all training for the companies. And that to me, I'm just so privileged that I got to be a part of that journey. I get to witness all of this. It's just a beautiful evolution, really. And there really is an abundance for everybody. There's enough for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
To go around. And I always... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I always say if there's something in you that gets triggered by other people's success, like I like hone in on that because that needs some work and attention.
That's snaps.
Yeah.
No, there's a reason why you're getting triggered. You're so right. Yeah. A lot of times, and that's why we can learn so much from other people. There's times where like people get triggered by other people, but it's like maybe there's something internally that you have to self-reflect on.
Right. Focus on your own success. Yes. Yep. No, it's so true.
Tell me what your like bread and butter is. Like when you're with a patient, is it the consultation? Is it the connectivity you have with them? Is it a full facial rejuvenation? Is it both? Like, tell me like what just makes you like, I don't know, the sparks happen in your brain.
I love this question because I always tell my students it's a privilege to alter another individual's self-image. And if you look at self-image, so Maxwell Maltz, he was actually a facial plastic surgeon back in the 60s, and he wrote the book Psycho-Cybernetics. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you read it because pretty much all personal development comes from him and his teachings. And what I've learned is that when you alter someone's self-image, you change their life, you change their relationships, you change their finances, because your self-worth and your income will never exceed one another. So the more you work on yourself, the more money you're going to make, right? Like the more you're going to allow into your life. So there was a patient, her name was Heather. She came into a training. It was the most beautiful. I actually talk about it in my book, most beautiful experience. So Heather came in, she wouldn't look anybody in the eye, very shy. Even on all her pre-photo pictures, she wouldn't look anyone in the eye. She wouldn't look at the camera. And when I had her in the chair, I was assessing her and she wouldn't look at me, and was really quiet with how she talked. And she kind of talked out of the corner of her mouth. So as I'm assessing her and I'm trying to be very sensitive with my questions, come to find out her mother had found us, sent her in to get lip filler because Heather had been severely beaten, domestic violence, and he knocked all her teeth out of her mouth. So she didn't have the structural support. So when she talked through her mouth, she'd created this volume loss in this pocket from compensating. And so we ended up doing 2 syringes of Versa. We didn't charge her. We just wanted to serve her. Yep. And you guys, I'm telling you, when we handed her the mirror, there was not a dry eye in the room. It was the most beautiful experience. Yep. That is life-changing. That is all I want to do. That's all I want to do is I want to leave pixie dust wherever I go. I want to leave my essence, my energy. I believe I was sent here for a reason. We all are. And we all have a unique purpose. And I want each and every one of us to step fully into our purpose and live fully, because we are denying this beautiful world and one another this beautiful experience by holding back and playing small and dimming our light. And so it was such a beautiful experience for my students to witness. And I'm like, if you don't get transformational experiences like that in your chair, I think we need to slow down. We need to tune in, and we need to reevaluate our purpose and our,
and our life.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think that, I mean, I think there's some people that are in this profession, like any profession, right? That are just not meant for it. And that's where we can reevaluate and say, maybe I'm meant to do something else,
Right.
And that's okay. As you get to know yourself and discover yourself, even my students, I say, listen, just give it a year, go all in, so that at the end of that year, you can say, hell yes, I made it and I love it. Or you know what? I'm going back to ER.
Right.
This isn't for me. Well, that's okay.
Right.
I've changed
you gave it your all.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
So
I love that. Yeah. It's definitely, I feel like you definitely have to have the passion for it. If there's no passion there, you're not going to get that relationship with your patients. And that's what's so important.
Yeah. And maybe it doesn't fulfill you like bedside nursing or something else.
Right. Right. So. And like you said, that's fine. Yep. And you give it the time. And if it's not, then you go back.
Yeah.
Yep.
No shame.
Yeah. Exactly.
So who inspired you to get to where you are?
Oh gosh, you know what? There's so many people. I mean, I do a lot of reading because I have never had the mentor. I have like 5 coaches right now. Now that I can afford to have coaches, I couldn't afford that before. Right. So I would just pick up books. But if you're asking in the industry, Julie Bass Kaplan is probably one of my all-time favorite.
She's incredible.
She just she is so authentic, and she's got a big heart. She loves to serve. She loves to educate. She's funny. She's just amazing. She loves my ER kit, and she's so happy to promote it. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah. No, she is amazing. She's a great human.
She's funny, and she never complains.
Nope.
Not once. No. And I remember looking at her.
She would fall off the stage and not
complain. And she would probably go, oh, like she would just like act and just be funny about it, you know? Like,
yeah.
I remember when we were at Modern Beauty Con, Nicole, I remember talking to her, and I'm like, just watching how she is and how she's smiling with each person she talks to. She's invested. She's listening to each person. And I'm like, she is loving what she's doing. Like she loves connecting with people. That's like her biggest thing. And of course she's passionate about anatomy and this industry and like giving the best results for her patients. But I remember when I finally got a chance to talk to her, I said, are you tired at all? She goes, oh honey, no. She's like, I'm happy to be here and to talk to you. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I left there and I'm like, wow, like it was very inspiring.
Yeah.
And I can say when you have found your passion, your purpose, it fuels you. People ask me all the time, aren't you exhausted? They're like, Yvonne, we just got back from Italy and you're already in Nashville. I don't get tired. I've worn out many, many personal assistants over the years because I do have tons of energy, but I have a lust for life. I love my life, and I want to live it fully every single day. I want to connect with people. I want to serve people. I want to try things. I want to experience everything. So, yeah.
I love that. We know you're big on social media. Is there anything you're doing specifically to stay relevant on there, posting wise, any kind of videos?
Honestly, I think I still really suck, but if I can just talk to my people every now and then, say, I'm still here. I haven't disappeared. I have a marketing team right now and they're great, but it's not the same. I want to connect. I want to see my people. I want to know if I haven't seen you, I'm going to call you out and be like, are you okay? Why are you not injecting? Why are you not?
Yeah.
So I love social media for that. But I always tell people, you use social media. Don't let it use you.
Right.
If you find that you're slipping into the black hole, get out, get off, delete the app for the day. So, I try to just get in and connect and let people know I'm still alive, but I cannot dance to save my life. So you won't see that happening.
And you don't need to. If you go back on my page, you'll see some dancing there. It's just, I follow the trends. It is what it is, but no, I know.
The jury is still out if you could dance, Jon.
I really can't dance.
Well, that's fun too, though. At least just try, and then people see that you're at least trying. But
yeah. I feel like I always hop on the stories. I feel like stories are like an easy way to show your personality and connect with everyone that follows you too. And it doesn't feel as taxing as like a post does. It's quick, easy. I find myself on my stories all the time.
It's important to have fun with it. If people are seeing that you're having fun with it, but also educating a little bit with it, I think that's important.
Absolutely.
I agree. Like, Nicole, like when we were at, the trainer for temples just recently. And, everyone was kind of talking about, oh my God, these people that are just these newer, injectors that are going on and they're just dancing and they're getting all these followers.
I know.
People pay attention to them having the followers and they automatically think, oh, they're good. Right. But they're not educating on there. They're just doing it for entertainment. So they really kind of, focus on really, guys, it's important, to have fun, but also educate,
make sure
and be professional and things like, which I completely agree with.
Yeah.
I always say, really, like, you are your brand. How do you want to show up, and how do you want other people to speak of you?
Right.
So we had this conversation. I was with a bunch of friends in Nashville having dinner, and one of the gentlemen, he coaches women that have been through a lot of really hard things. And he had said a couple of things that were inappropriate. And I don't get offended, but I will be your bossy big sis. And I'll be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what you don't want to hear, but I love you. And what you're saying is actually hurting your brand. So I did. I asked the ladies around the table, I'm like, how do you feel when men talk like that? And the one was like, oh, I'm not like other women. It doesn't bother me. And I was like, well, I am a lady, I'm a lady and I want to be treated and respected as a lady. When I'm at a dinner table, I don't want to be talking about inappropriate things. Like I'm not a prude. Trust me, grew up on food stamps and welfare. I have 5 sisters. We can talk about anything and everything. But I was just trying to let them know, like, you have to be mindful of what you say because it is your brand.
Right.
And you don't know who's sitting at the table because just 9 months ago, that same exact thing happened and someone overheard it and didn't know it was a joke. And it spread like wildfire in our industry. Wow. And it was detrimental. And once things are said, you can't take them back.
It's so
and so
true.
Now you're trying to put out the fire and clean up the mess.
Right.
And so I think we just need to be a little bit more mindful about who we are, how we show up, how we represent ourselves, because again, our energy can be pixie dust or poison. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I do try to be very mindful of how I show up.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of my pet peeves too, is like that spread of misinformation online, even if it's just like they pick a specific product and they bash it, or, as an injector that you might be using that product, your patient could see that and be like, well, why are you putting this in me? So I just feel like there's a lot of ways that we can educate without fear mongering or spreading misinformation.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my pet peeves.
Yeah, it's one of mine too.
I have a few of them. Yeah.
It's one of mine too. And I think sometimes that people post those things, their intention honestly is to get people's attention and to make like a name, or they're trying to have a big company to hear them. And then they'll grasp at them and be like, ooh, we want them, or just for them to get followers. And I think we just have to be careful what we post online.
Yeah.
Right. Because everybody's watching it and you don't know who's watching it and saving it and sending it around. And you got to be so careful. And that's like you said, it's your brand at the end of the day. It could be detrimental.
Yes.
So I worked for a medical spa. I'm in Syracuse, New York. So like, central New York area, Finger Lakes area. Have you been there, Yvonne?
I haven't.
Okay, you should. It's gorgeous, like summer, fall time.
Sounds
Beautiful.
like it. Yeah.
Come up here and train me. I'll have you at my practice. You can train us. That'd be great. That'd be great. And I ended up leaving it's actually 3 years ago. This coming January, because and it's fine. The owner, we were the 4th medical spa that he had purchased, and he ended up, selling it to private equity. And then, and I noticed a change was happening anyway. The patients were not feeling it. And I was like, I can't have this. And so I left and did my own thing, my own way. And that owner was not there, a lot of the time. But I think also, you have 4 practices. It's impossible to be at 4 places at once. I totally get it, but I kind of was like, I want to do my own thing. And then I want to invest in myself and really start, training and providing the best for my patients. And, it was like, the best thing that I could do, was do that.
That's great. And I do believe that and I tell my students this, I tell my coaching clients this, you have to know as a business owner that they're going to spread their wings and fly. So why not help them, set them up for success for the next place, because they want to grow. They will not leave if they're constantly growing and evolving into the position they're in. The hard thing about my company is we have 7 different businesses. There's a lot going on, and I'm in the transition. Transition is really hard and it's scary because there's no money over here and you're leaving all the money here, but your new pursuit of passion and purpose is here. And so I'm like, my team really has to believe in me and trust that I know what I'm doing. And luckily I really preach being in the black, stay small, stay debt free. And luckily I've built a really large egg nest to be able to do this. But, my business is so different than everybody else's. If you have the 1 clinic, then you expand to 2 or 3, then it starts getting messier and harder and more challenging. And then if you have a training program, or if you have, an emergency kit, or you have, it's a lot of just moving parts. But I think it's like, keeping your employees engaged where they're thriving and they're growing, and it's a really good, healthy culture.
And everyone's different, right? For me, I really want to have one practice, but grow. And like, we're going to be going, I have a 1,200 square foot practice right now. I went in very humbly. I just wanted to inject, but then I was like, I love skin. So I ended up purchasing some lasers and I hired a registered nurse, and we just kind of blossomed organically, which is great. But now we're going to be going into like a 6,000 square foot location in about 2 years. And that's kind of where I want to be. I obviously want to expand my employees, but I don't have that, at least now. Like you said, it could change. But I really want to just have that one location and kind of flourish that way.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. And my only advice would be is make sure you have a solid foundation. Like work on that now so that you are prepared and set up for success when you grow and bring on more people. Get your culture dialed in now.
And that's and you're so right. And that's honestly that's what I'm doing right now. It's good. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
I definitely,
It's a lot of work, but I wouldn't change it. Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's all worth it. It's all worth it.
I think we love work, right? We love work. Yeah.
We always say we thrive in chaos. Like, I don't like to stop. I always like to be busy. But like you said about growth, like if your employees don't feel like they have a way to grow or continue to grow or learn, I feel like it definitely almost pushes them out, because that was kind of the situation I was in. And it's how I ended up where I am today, because, you feel like you hit a wall, like you can't go any further. And you're just like, okay, well, I want to continue growing and learning about myself and see where this career takes me. And I can't. So it kind of does push you out the door, Yeah.
And this is one exercise I take my coaching clients through, is we put together a vivid vision. Because if the business owner doesn't know where they're going, how do you expect everybody to get on the same train in the same direction? Right? They have to buy into your vision. They have to buy into your culture and to what you're planning to do with the team. If they can't see that, then they can't help you with that overall goal and dream. And so I have this darling coaching client out of California, and she says, Yvonne, this is the first time I felt like a real business owner. And I'm like, well, you are one. We just had to get clear. We had to get very, very clear and have a plan in place. But I know we're healthcare providers. Most of us don't know anything about business or leadership, right? And I have really evolved over the years. I'm a whole different person now than I was in the beginning. And I expect to be a completely different person 5 years from now as I get better at my leadership skills and I get better at my communication skills. But I love business. I really, really do. And that's where I see myself as just having my multiple businesses, but they're going to evolve and change. And
now I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you watch Secret Lives of Mormon Wives?
I didn't. I do not watch any TV. I'm not going to lie.
Lord Jesus. I know you probably don't have any time. I don't have time either, but that's like I put it on and I'm able to clean the house or do something.
Okay. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to fly out to see you and we're going to do a binge weekend. And we are going to binge. If I can eat candy. Everybody teases me because I eat a shitload of candy.
Are you kidding me? Yes.
See? We're like Snacks instant besties.
Yeah. I love it.
Okay, let's do it. I love it.
Can watch the whole season.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm down for
it. Funny. But that's like me. I don't have cable either. I'm like, there's no time to watch TV. Why pay for cable?
Yeah. I would rather read a book. Really. Yeah. Or write one,
Yeah, exactly. Like you are. Yeah.
Something new. I don't know.
So with all of your cadaver courses and the summits that you do, we have a lot of newer injectors that listen. Is there any advice you'd give them, knowing your anatomy background, maybe areas to start and areas to kind of maybe get to in the future and build yourself to? Any insight on anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, really, that is I would say the new injectors are my core people, right? I really quit doing advanced trainings because what was happening, they would come, if they did not take my beginner course, they'd come for an advanced and they weren't ready for an advanced because as you know, John, if they took an AMAT course and now they want to take your advanced course, but they didn't have enough in the beginning, So I got to the point where I would not take them unless they did my beginner course. But for new beginners, again, I want you to be debt free. I do not want you to overextend yourself. Get a really, really, really good basic beginner course, comprehensive training where you're going to get ongoing support. And then Ex Medica has free education with CE credits. Pick up a book, read books, like get on Amazon and buy any Gene Carruthers books, buy Chris Cirque's anatomy book. There's so many great books. The amount of education that you can get from these books is going to be way more affordable than what you're going to do if you go to another training and you don't come home and implement it. See, when a coaching client of mine goes to a training, I'm like, before you go, or even to a conference, before you go, we have a plan. You have your models lined up on Monday to implement everything you learned on the weekend. So if you are a new injector, get a really, really good foundation course that's also going to mentor you as you grow. And then I want them to go learn from other injectors, because my colleagues, our colleagues are phenomenal. Really, really good. They're better areas that I am. And I don't want to be doing all of those. I want to stay with the beginners.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I want to love
obviously
them.
as injectors, like we're hands-on people. And like you said, like you have to put things in motion. So right from leaving like a training, like course, whatever, you have to immediately put it into motion.
Right.
And I've seen so many students take all these trainings and they don't even have anyone to practice on.
Right.
I'm like, no, don't do that. Have your books, keep studying, keep learning, do your Patreons if you want to that are affordable, but don't be spending all of this money if you're not even actively injecting.
Right.
So when we were at Modern Beauty Con, they had a whole panel of like the OGs up there. And actually Julie Kaplan was up there with George Baxter. Do you know George?
Yeah. I love George.
So, So they were all up there and there's a few others. And someone asked like, listen, training's expensive. Like I don't have the money. Like, I think it's a little, someone was basically saying it's a little ridiculous, right, Nicole? Like to be spending this much money. What do you have? Like, what do you suggest?
Yeah, the courses are over $5,000 a lot of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get that, but all of them kind of said, listen, we've all, like, even now, like you think that we're, at the height of our career, like we're, we know everything. We don't, they're like, we continue to
still
spend
investing, right?
X amount of money a year, in our training out of our pockets. So, I do think it's important for people to understand that, listen, if you're passionate about it, it's not you're going to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
I guess that's how I should say it.
And I'll attest to that because at my conference, Julie Bass Kaplan sat on the front row, taking it all in.
Yeah.
Scott from Dolce Vita sat on the front row, taking notes, taking it all in, learning from his colleagues. Then he went home and he highlighted on his Instagram reel everything he learned from who. Like we are all still learning. Yeah. And we're in it
so
together.
important.
We should be helping each other. We should not be hoarding or holding back, because the only one that's hoarding and holding back is hoarding and holding back from themselves.
Right.
Because if you have a lack mindset, the universe is going to give you more lack in your life.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So true.
Just keep learning and growing.
Okay. So I guess we kind of talked about this one, like a specific patient or a training that stuck with you. I know we had talked about Heather earlier, but is there anything else, or like maybe a trainee that you have, a mentee that really has stuck with you, their story?
Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't even begin to tell you. My students teach me more than anything. They are the most loyal, loving community. I am just so blessed. So the girl that bought my med spa, she invited me to a girls' weekend. That's where I was in Tampa.
Oh, really?
With
I
all
love
her
that.
friends.
Oh my God.
I love that.
Yeah. So I've really, really gotten to be really close with those that really take advantage of the mentoring, like that stay close to me and let me help them. Those are the ones that end up being the most successful too, is because mentoring, like I can mentor you because I've been through it all, right? I can coach you, and not all coaches are mentors. Not all coaches have done. It's like my business professor.
Right.
He can teach a course, but he has never ran businesses. Right. So I'm a mentor. I've been through it all, and I will show you what I've done and how I got where I got. And so those that stay close to me take advantage of that, and they do really, really well. So I would just say I have a real safe circle of beautiful, loyal women that have become my dear, dear friends.
Yeah,
I just love them.
Amazing.
So,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that too. And that's again about building the community. And then you have people when something does happen and you have to run something past somebody, you have that community to reach out to and call. And it's definitely so important. So what would be your biggest piece of advice for like newer injectors or someone looking to get into the field? I loved how you talked about like books and Patreon, because a lot of patients that are nurses that want to get into this will ask me, you know, well, how do I get into it? And I'm like, well, you don't want to just spend like $6,000 on a course and then you don't even have a job, you know? So I think that was a huge part of, you know, there's so many resources that we don't realize that are much more affordable until you can kind of get your hands on. But definitely any advice you have for people looking to get into our field.
Yeah, definitely do your homework, do your word of mouth homework. Okay. And I will tell you, out of all the Google reviews we've gotten, there was one Google review. I think she gave us a 3-star. I know exactly who she is. And this is my thing. I stand by my work. I stand by my brand, my reputation. If you're not happy, if I did not deliver the value or more value than you paid for, that matters to me, and I will make it right by you. Right. So do your research, make sure that you're going to get somebody that can teach you how you learn, right? So if you don't have the time and you can do an online course and then pop in for hands-on, well, great, do that. But do your research first and make sure that it's going to be a community that you can belong to and grow with. And then after you get your foundation, stop and pause and know that that's 80% of what your patients walk in the door for is what you learn in your beginner course. So don't be too excited to start learning tear troughs and cheeks right away.
Right.
And then build a relationship with your drug reps in your area, because they will provide ongoing education. They know who's hiring. They're the first to know. And I will tell you, it's been my drug reps that have helped me get to where I'm at today. I mean, to be a medical advisory board member, it is my drug reps that were touting me and pushing me and believing in me. So I have a beautiful relationship with my drug reps, but have really good relationships. Don't ever burn a bridge, because it's a small industry. We all know everybody, you know, and when people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Yes. I love that. Thank you. Yeah. And even for us, like becoming Allergan trainers, that was all of our, you know, our reps, and having a good relationship with the reps. Those opportunities will arise when, you know, when you have good relationships. So that's great advice. Thank you. And then some questions that I wanted to just highlight a lot of what you do. We personally have her aesthetic ER kit. We absolutely love it. We blew up the protocols and they're hanging on the wall in our draw up room. So all the girls know, you know, God forbid if we have an issue, we practice our little code blue. But your kit is amazing, and I think it's helped so many people. So I wanted to give you like a chance to kind of talk about it. And it not only is it just a kit, but it comes with so many, you know, online trainings and resources too. So I wanted to highlight that a little bit too.
Yeah. So dermal fillers have been around for over 40 years. And as I was traveling across the country and asking injectors, like, what do you have for protocols? What do you have for your emergency kit? Nobody had anything. They'd be like, oh, heat massage and Hylenex. And then I'd look in their fridge and they'd have one vial of expired Vitrace.
Right.
Like, okay, that's not going to work. So again, when you find a need, turn it into an opportunity, right? So I came back to my team. I'm like, we got to do something about this. So it took me quite a few years. One of my dear colleagues, I don't know if you guys know Larry Blevins out of Florida, Captain Cosmetics. He's a real good friend of mine. So he really supported me with the idea. And I got it registered, trademarked. It took 5 years. It shouldn't have taken that long. But,
oh my gosh, yeah.
So it is registered, and it does come with all the documents. Heaven forbid you should have to transport your patient out of the clinic. So it's got all your forms. You can take the training with your team multiple times. There are recorded versions of, because we do live webinars. So if you don't have the time to join a live one, then jump in on a recorded one, and then you can always come back for a live one. But your staff can take it We don't put the medication in anymore because there were so many nurse injectors that didn't have a medical director. But we do give you the medication list, the form, and we can send it into the pharmacy and they'll dispense for you.
Yeah.
But it's really all your protocols. We really just, I mean, they're not our protocols. We just compiled over 300 research articles and protocols and put them in one easy to use place.
Yep.
And we want you guys to be able to share that with your office and with, so everybody knows and everybody's on the same page.
Right.
And then we love feedback because we have it in over 900 clinics in the US, Canada, and Europe.
It's
so
amazing.
We're getting ready for round 2, but nobody has given us any, they love it. They're like, they don't have anything to, So we'll see
we're very grateful for you for making that seriously, because as a practice owner, it's very overwhelming to get started. Of course, for us, this is not work. This is our life. We love it. It's our passion. Right. But it helps, it makes things a little bit easier. Having that available to us. I know, Leslie Fletcher as well. She made her protocols available as well. I purchased her protocols, and all of her policies, as well as her consent forms as well. And obviously made them, my own for my practice, but it just took a lot off of our plate, just doing them from scratch and making sure we're doing things the right way. So very grateful for you.
Yes. Yeah. And I think too, like a lot of it too, you don't always think of, like in the booklet that you get with the aesthetic ER kit, it mentions like referrals. Like if you need a hyperbaric chamber, like get a referral for that, an ophthalmologist, like all these things that you might not think of until the moment happens. And you're like, crap, I don't have anywhere to refer them, So that really, it was helpful to us as we reached out, we made those connections and we have them now.
Right. And that will save you because nobody wants to take a patient from someone they don't know.
Right.
Or trust. So once you have that relationship, they're more likely to help you.
Right.
I need to know, Yvonne. So you're on the West Coast, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you are. So hyperbaric chambers, those are becoming very popular, especially in California. I've heard for like anti-aging. I think I just saw on TV, about how it's helping with PTSD as well. Like there's studies that are in the works right now. So are you seeing a lot more offices or practices having hyperbaric out there?
Yeah. So one of our speakers at our conference, her name's Dr. Deanne Long. She's actually an ER physician who has her own med spa and she has chambers. So there's difference between therapeutic chambers and medical grade chambers, right? So the therapeutic ones don't dive deep enough to fix the wounds like the hospital chambers do. However, the hospital chambers, they won't take our patients because they don't fall within the 14 FDA approved diagnoses.
Okay.
So do your research and find out who's in your area who can dive, therapeutically to heal a necrotic wound or have a relationship with your wound clinic. Yeah.
There's someone in my area who has the 90210 hyperbaric chamber. Have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. But they have it in this area, and one of my reps just had surgery done, and she had issues with some wound healing in some areas, and her plastic surgeon referred her to this office, and she's been doing hyperbarics for 2 weeks and everything's completely healed. Everything's great.
Wow. Good.
And I'm like, wow, this is great. Yeah. So of course now I'm invested and I'm trying to do my own research into knowing more about it.
Yeah.
Well, they pop up on my, the Instagram sponsored ads, like the little travel.
Probably
like
because
it's
I
like,
talked to you about it and now it's showing up.
Yeah, it's showing up. But you could buy a hyperbaric chamber. I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh.
Put it in your house. No, it is. It's crazy.
We'll do anything to stay young and beautiful, right?
No, agreed.
Of course. Yeah.
I also wanted to touch base about, because I know that you do some conferences and summits and your cadaver courses, like how people can kind of find those or register for those and where they can follow you on social media and all that.
Yeah. So anyone of your listeners can get $100 off the aesthetic ER kit. So
great. Good.
Aesthetic ER. I think it's aesthetic ER 100. Just have them message me.
Okay.
Or ER 100. I'll let you know for sure. Because my team did put something together for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that.
And then MAAI Summit is in Park City every August. So that's August 24th weekend. It's like the third weekend. And we have amazing speakers, right? Julie was there this year. I think we're having her back again next year. Dr. Weiner, Dr. Chillicurry, Dr.
amazing.
Sykes. We have great speakers.
It's a great group.
And it's small and intimate. It's 100 people. We want to keep it small because I want to know everybody in my audience. So it is a very good vibe. It's a great experience. Then I have a women's conference, or her Success Summit. Right now it's scheduled for April at the Black Desert Resort here in St. George. It's a brand new PGA golf course.
Wow.
However, my event planner came down over the weekend and she's like, Yvonne, I don't know if it's going to be ready.
Oh,
so
no.
It's being built. Yeah. So she had a meeting today. It is going to be either in April or October, but we will keep you guys posted on Instagram. Yeah. Then the book will be available on Amazon and Audible and Barnes & Noble first of the year. But all of that, so I have, because I have the 7 businesses, right? Anything medical aesthetics, you can find at medicalaestheticartinstitute.com or Medical Aesthetic Art Institute on Instagram. And then anything for the book, the women's, conference, the speaking, the jewelry, the coaching, that's at thebestofyvonne.com.
Okay.
Amazing.
Great. Yes. And thank you so much. You shared so much, just a wealth of information. We can't thank you enough for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. And Jonathan, I'm coming to see you for candy and a weekend binge.
I love it. I love it.
It would make my entire weekend if you can.
Okay. Oh, let's do it. We'll just get it on the calendar now.
Thank you to all of you listening in for listening in to another episode of the Fill Me In podcast. Till next time.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
All I want.